welcome back to PSGL Season 41 Division 3 Round 5 of the Championship, and tonight the field arrives at Spielberg for the Austrian Grand Prix at the Red Bull Ring, a track that always delivers breathtaking close battles and tiny margins. But before we go into Austria, we have to talk about what happened last week at the Monaco Grand Prix, and one of the most defining moments of the Championship as well. The Monaco built a strategy, nerve and absolute precision and pace. Melvin delivered all three, one of the most intelligent drives we've seen this season. Started on the front row, he didn't need to overtake the track. Instead, he outthought his rivals and he undercut DeMarco twice and got the positions back twice as well. What a fantastic undercut it was, and DeMarco could do nothing. He overtook him the first time, but the second time unfortunately could not make it stick, as he had stayed behind him on equal tyres and took his first victory of the season and became the second different driver to win the season after Ponimachi. Behind them, Malandi also produced a brilliant recovery drive, climbing to P3, banking vital championship points and keeping himself firmly in the title conversation despite a difficult qualifying. Started at a P9, but his strategy was absolutely amazing. And then the Grandada, Junkie Angel and Pavatox all delivered strong midfield showings, while other drivers walked away from Monaco wondering what might have been with the retirements we had. And the result that reshaped the top of the standings, Ponimachi still leads the championship with 50 points after his promotion, but the chasing pack has tightened dramatically. DeMarco now sits P2 on 37. Melvin moves to P3 with 29. Milan Diossi sit behind on 28. Junkie Angle and the Grandada firmly in the midfield fights. And in the constructors, McLaren still hold the top spot on 89, but Alpine have closed the gap to 53. And the Beer Carbs sit right behind with 32. The championship is wide open still, and the momentum is shifting every single week. What brings us today? Austria. The Red Bull Ring is short, fast, brutal, and mistakes can be unforgiving. Just 10 corners, 4.3 kilometres and barely over a minute per lap, meaning the field will be separated by thousands, not tenths. The three DRS zones, heavy braking zones into 1, 3 and 4, and final sector that punishes or even the slightest overcommitments and mistakes. It's a track built for wheel-to-wheel racing, it's a track that rewards confidence, and it's a track that can destroy your lap time instantly with one tyre on the wrong side of the white line. But let's see what happens today here in PSGL. This is round 5 and this is the Austrian Grand Prix. And as you can see on the track and in real life too in the UK, it is absolutely pouring it down here in Austria. But my name is Jim Morris, taking you through this qualifying and 36-lap race. And alongside me is Milan Langer. How you doing, mate? You alright?
Yeah, I'm alright, thank you very much. And yeah, just look at these conditions here at Austria. That is going to make up for quite an interesting qualifying session, because I doubt many drivers practice in the rain. So it's going to be very difficult for all these drivers. First drive out on track, as per usual. Not the first time we've seen that this season. It's might be Wombat in the Haas coming around the final corner. And he is going to start first flying lap of the session. And he's on the full wet tires. And we can see that some of the drivers have opted for the intermediates, as usually on this game. On previous games, the intermediates are can be quicker than the wets in any given condition. So you can see why some of these drivers went for the intermediates, but we'll find out soon enough if the wets or the intermediates are quicker. Mighty Wombat at the end of the first sector, which really is just turn 1 and then that little kink into the braking zone of turn 3. Now accelerating uphill into what is usually a DRS zone, of course. In these wet weather conditions, no DRS enabled on this lap, so we have to play around more with the ERS as we go into the braking zone of turn 4, sliding his way in and then accelerating out as we go into the middle sector of this track, following here two very identical left-handers, but he's going quite wide on entry through the first one. Let's see how he's going to handle the second one as he goes in towards the final sector. Just flat out on the exit, bit of a moment there of oversteer. And now the final two corners remain, which usually can be quite tricky with track limits in the dry and in the wet as well. Let's see as he goes towards the penultimate corner, a bit of a slide on the apex, but he's kept it within the white lines, which is the most important thing right now at this stage of qualifying, as he comes around the final corner to cross the line for what will be a 1:16.455, and that puts him at the moment at the top of the field. But he's the only one out on track. There are many drivers out on track, and some of them are on the intermediates, and Alameco is one of those drivers who's on the intermediates. Let's see if he's already quicker, and the answer is yes, by almost a full second. So does that answer the question if the intermediates are quicker than the full wets at the moment? It seems like the intermediates might still have an advantage over the full wet tires, but we'll find out when more people set their lap times. But it's Aston Martin at the moment at the front after the first couple of laps.
Yeah, mighty one band on the wet compound tyres, just exploring just to see how tricky these conditions are, but it seems the Inters are holding their ground so far. The light standing conditions that can withstand a few millimeters of water. And we've got DeMarco coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. Turn 9 and turn 10. In the dry, it is blistering quick, as we explore the limits of turn 9 and turn 10. But here, caution is necessary as DeMarco, the German driver, heads towards the line and he sets a 40.4. So DeMarco showing some great pace already, and he'll be looking to bounce back after his misfortunes or blunders, should I say, at the Monaco Grand Prix, allowing himself to be undercutted twice, knowing track position was absolutely essential during the race. So hoping he didn't make the same mistake twice, and if he does, it's all good, because at the Austrian Grand Prix you can overtake, so it doesn't matter if you get undercutted. You've still got 3 DRS zones, but at a track like Monaco you can't afford to be undercutted like that, and that's where it paid off for the likes of Melvin in the McLaren and the P11. Continuing McLaren's success, 4 wins in a row. He's got a brand new teammate as well with Swifty on board in the McLaren coming towards the final corner. Let's see what he could do on his debut here in PSGL F3. He goes up into P2 ahead of Kingsman in P3. Kingsman as well is also a driver I like to keep an eye out from time to time because he can be quick as well. He's going purple again in the first sector on his second consecutive run. Bearing in mind, you can do consecutive runs, as Melvin, talking about the McLaren driver, has obliterated the lap times of the other people. It's a 30.6, so it doesn't seem to me like the wet compound tyres are necessary. It is sliced under water, so the intermediate compound tyres are the way to go for these drivers, but the people in the wet compound tyres surely head back in the pit lane and try on the inters and try and set as many lap times as you can. You can fuel the car up for more than 1 lap because you could set consecutive lap times if you want to, of course, as well, with the track getting better, the tyres will bring in, the fuel going down as well, and you don't burn a lot of ERS because you're not on full throttle most of the time either. Milan Diosso coming towards the double left-hander, he's centered on the inside, but it goes deep in the corner though, and he'll definitely lose a lot of time in turn 6. Now coming through turn 7 and turn 8 as well, just taking it very cautiously as we ride on top of the curve, as the car just complains a little bit too, coming towards turn 9 and turn 10 over the crest of the hill in towards turn 9, and as you can see there, just tiptoeing his way through as well. Doesn't look very settled in that racing board, does he? But he's taking his time to get adjusted to the car. He makes his way now towards the final corner, towards the line. He goes P5 with a 14.6, but 1 second off the pace, and definitely can improve as well, as the McLaren behind us, the Swifty, goes for end of the lap time there. So it is Melvin on pole position with the first lap times being set, with Kingsman in P2, DeMarco in P3, the young German driver coming to the middle sector right now. Look at that, 5 tenths up in this middle sector. And over the course of this qualifying session, you'll see a lot of people getting confident, more confidence and finding more lap time as well, as DeMarco heads towards the final couple of corners there as well. Look at that, hits the apex very nicely as well, cutting a lot of curb in towards turn 9 and turn 10, maximising every single part of the racetrack. He heads towards the line now with a 13.7, he goes P2, and he finds 2 tenths of a second more as well in that final sector.
Definitely a good improvement. It definitely seems like the weather conditions are getting lighter as the session continues on. At the beginning it was raining very, very heavily. Right now it seems like the rain has got a little bit less, so the intermediates definitely seem to be the quicker tire. You can see the entire top 9, their best lap time was on the intermediates. The first full runner is all the way down in P10 out of 14, so everyone's switching over to the intermediates. At least one of them is Junkie Angle in the Mercedes. He invalidated his first run on the intermediates. He set a 14.5. But unfortunately, invalidated through the final few corners. Swifty goes quickest with a 13.6 to make it a McLaren front row lockout. Something we've seen before this season, but then it was with Polimachi. But looks like a good replacement, at least for him, as Swifty at the top of the times. But Junkie Angle is going to come around to the final 2 corners as KDRDN goes quickest now with a 13.4. Only a few hundreds ahead of Swifty, but he is quite handy in these conditions, it seems like. And Junkie Angle is going to go up to P3, and the top 3 all with a 13.4 in these conditions. That is quite something to see those lap times being so close in these wet conditions. Mighty Wombat coming out of the final corner on his first run on the intermediates with a 13.5, puts himself in P4 on the second row. As we've got 9 minutes remaining in the session, it's all about putting in those lap times, getting used to these track conditions, and try to improve each and every single lap, as you might want to take a little bit more fuel than usual. Kingsman is going to go quickest with a 13.2, and he beats the Kick Sauber by 2 tenths of a second. It definitely seems like the track is improving as the minutes continue on, So that was Justin, unfortunately, having invalidated. He is now on the intermediate as well. His next lap is invalidated as well. So is the Aston Martin crossing the right now. Milan DLC right behind goes onto the front row with a 13.3 as we're getting into the low 13s and might be getting into the 12s soon. Swifty has gone for a cooldown lap and he is going to start another one, it seems. The man who was at the top of the times a few moments ago, it was a McLaren 1-2 for a brief moment, but currently the MP4 and P7, which shows that you need to stay out there and need to improve. His teammate coming out right behind him out of the pit lane as we run with Swifty at the end of the first sector. Let's see, already finds a tenth of a second as he turns in towards turn 3 on exit. Always tricky, even in the dry but in the wet very much so as well, as he struggles with the back end wanting to step out. As we go now down into the braking zone of turn 4, downhill braking and really aggressively on the turn in there, but the front end grips on him and he can accelerate outwards nicely then. And let's find out, has he found some time in the middle sector as well? Oh, he needs 2/10 at the moment to beat the Williams, but I reckon he finds some more time than that. Yes, he does. 3/4 of a second up as we go through the middle sector. There's an RB just ahead of him. Let's hope they get out of the way. Nice and easy. The pit entry, of course, a bit sketchy here around Austria as we go towards the final couple of corners. And I think we can say for sure that we're going to see a new fastest lap time right now in this qualifying session. Swifty comes out of the final corner and he is going to obliterate the times. It's going to be a 1:12.5 and he beats Kingston by almost 7/10 of a second.
Wow, that's incredible. The lap times are tumbling down. Every single driver is finding more pace, finding more confidence. I think the track conditions in general are improving too. Junkie Angle goes up into P2 in the Mercedes with a 12.5 as well. Keep an eye on Mighty Wombat, has set a middle purple sector there, has the Haas driver, as we see him now make his way towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack, making sure you keep within the confines of the white lines. Coming towards the final corner, car step on the throttle as we head towards the line we go. It's going to be a 30.0, goes up into P3. His best qualifying is P12 at the Monaco Grand Prix, and elsewhere he's qualified 15th, 17th and 14th. So terrible qualifying in the last 4 races for Mighty One, but hasn't even started inside the top 10 just in the season. But this could be a major step forward. Talk about major step forward, Justin's gone quickest with a 12.2, and that is mighty indeed. But look at Melvin. Melvin is improving by a second and a bit, as well as Anamika goes up into P2 in the Aston Martin. 7 laps on his intermediate compound tyres as well. So every single driver finding more and more pace as the qualifying session unfolds. As we're on board with Melvin coming towards the final corner. Is he going to dry up? I highly doubt it. But here comes McLaren towards the line. He goes. It's going to be 11.4. Smashes out the ballpark there, does Melvin. It's 11.4. And we're getting super close as well. The lap times keep on tumbling down. It was like a 14.50 at start qualifying. Now it's an 11. But Mighty Wombat now on his in-lap, I think, headed back in towards the pit lane. I wonder as well if these drivers are thinking about putting on a new set of the intermediate compound tyres. Let's see who else is on a lap time. As we see, I think Noxie goes up into P6 in the Aston Martin. They're good performance from Aston Martin so far. DeMarco goes back up into P2, but some margin away from Melvin in first place by about 7/10 of a second. Then so the pole sitter from last week is down into P2, whilst the race winner is up into P1. This is like a repeat of last season where McLaren had been so strong when they had Autumn and Yuri Vizza in their camp lineup as well. And also I think it was Diogo Silva in the lineup as well. You can see Melvin fights with the car on the exit, but I do believe he's on the in-lap, so it doesn't really matter for him as he's running out of fuel as well for good measure as he heads back into pit lane to put on a brand new set of Inters for this qualifying session. But so far, who has surprised me? Well, KDRDN in P2 just surprised me. He goes up into P2, does the kick sabber, and relatively speaking as well, he hasn't really had the best performances in qualifying either. In round 3, qualified in P12, and at the Monaco Grand Prix qualified in P11. So he's been outside of top 10 mostly, and also in round 2, I think it was Belgium started in 12th place, and round 1 at the Australian Grand Prix started in 12th place as well. So he's a driver who's also started outside the top 10 in the last 4 races, currently in P2 and doing a superb job. But he could get demoted down because Justin is currently on a flying lap so far in the Mercedes, and let's see what he could produce as he makes his way now towards the final couple of corners, taking an aggressive turn in their 6th gear on the throttle, down towards 5th, down towards 4th, the final corner, but that was super close to validation of the exit there. just managed to escape from it. He crosses the line now. It goes pole. It's pole for Justin with an 11.2 there, and now he escapes getting a validation on that final corner. He puts himself on the front row of the grid, and Milan Diosso fortunately has it validated in the middle sector, but he was 1.2 seconds up. Let's see who could take pole in the final stage of qualifying, Milan.
Yeah, that was so close. I really thought that Justin would get an invalidation there, but very lucky to not get it, and he is on the front row right now. You really cannot afford an invalidation in these final laps of qualifying. Swifty once again on a lap, and he's up by 1.5 tenths through sector 1. A driver who we've seen be very quick in this qualifying session before. Quite a few drivers in the pit lane as well, waiting to go out at the later stages when the track is at its best, because the track has been improving throughout the entirety of this session, so you want to start your lap as late as possible and have the best track conditions for your final flying lap. Swifty is making his way through the middle sector. Can he once again produce a magical sector and find a lot of time like he did on his previous one? Yes, he does. Once again, 3/4 of a second up through that middle part of the lap. It's not purple though. He needs to find a little bit more in the final sector as well to beat Justin's time at the moment in P1. Melbourne still in second place as Levi goes quickest, 1:11.0, and that just shows the track evolution in the RB now on provisional pole position. But here comes Swifty across the line, and he's gonna go second place, 3 thousandths ahead of Justin, and misses out by just under 2 tenths behind Levi, and currently behind on the lap as well, Junkie Angle and the other Mercedes. Let's see what he can do as he's going to cross the line. It's going to be a 1:11.066, and he beats Levi by a few hundredths of a second and puts his Mercedes at the front of the field. But who else is on lap time? Milan Diosso has backed off. Does he have time to go for another lap? I think he has. There's yellow flags out at the moment, but he is still waiting. He's currently down in P12 as Kinsman just crossed the line as well. Napol in P14 finding an improvement. He goes up inside the top 10. Mighty Wombat about to start his flying lap as there are more drivers out on track on their out lap, preparing for their final runs here in qualifying, as the Ferrari currently down in P14. CBL looking for an improvement as well at the moment. Not sure how much time is remaining in the session, because that permanent yellow flag in the middle sector due to the drive going very slowly on their preparation laps, as the Ferrari is going to cross the line for another improvement. Let's see where it's going to put him. P7 ahead of KDRN. Just 1 minute to go here in qualifying. Justin is in pit lane. He's just gone out, but I don't think he will be able to make it to the line in time to go for another lap, so he might have completely mistimed that, and it might cost him at the end when everyone else will find an improvement. Here we go for the final couple of laps here in qualifying, and KDRN is the first one to kick it off.
There we go then. I can see a lot of drivers on their preparation lap braking and accelerating at the same time. I was on board with DeMarco. He's got 2 tenths of the first sector, but I'm going to go on board with KDRDN. No, actually, I'm going to go on board with DeMarco because he's the furthest one of the road. So he's headed down in towards the braking zone, turn 4, downhill braking zone, which means it's very easy to run off the track there as well. I've seen Seth Levi in P2 just cruise around, trying to get he's trying to dispose most fuel as he can, braking and accelerating at the same time, not doing good for his engine temperatures, braking temperatures whatsoever. Here comes DeMarco coming through 6, and now 7. Let's see his middle sector. Look at that, 1 second up, but he's down in P9. Oh, look at that, a car just sliding a bit across the road, going in towards turn 8, sorry. Now coming towards the final couple of corners on this racetrack. Let's see how confident and brave he is coming towards turn 9 and turn 10. Need full commitment through here as well, especially the dry conditions at full speed. But here he is towards the line. Is this pole? Oh, yes, it is. It's a 10.4. He's 6 tenths clear of Junkie Angle in P2. Junkie Angle, unfortunately, not improving the first sector, but he is not improving either in the middle sector. So he's down in both sectors. Can he find a time as KDRDN goes up into P2? Best qualifying of the season for him in second place. But is anybody about to change that as we make our way now towards the final couple of corners? Junkie Angle, the back end of the car, just sliding a bit as well in towards turn 9 and turn 10. Here comes Junkie Angle coming towards the line now. It's P3 at best for him. But Levi in P4 is improving by 10 to the bit as well as he makes his way now towards turn 9 and turn 10. Kingsman up into P2. Great qualifying. Milan Diosso in P4. Seth Levi unfortunately validates in the final corner, and he can't improve either. But I think, where is Melvin? Melvin's in P11, and he goes pole! He goes pole position, and what a lap time there. I think it was a 10.3, as it said there as well. But last week's race winner is on pole position with a stunning lap time of a 10.3. And unlucky there for DeMarco in P2, who couldn't repeat his pole for Monaco. It's Kingsman in the Williams in P3, his best qualifying of the season after a struggle as well. And we've got KDRDN as well, also a Kickstarter in P4 ahead of Milan Diossi in P5. Junkie Angle, 6th place at a mighty one, but Setlevai P8 ahead of Animico P9, Swifty in P10 ahead of Justin, Noxy P12, Sia Lu in P13 ahead of Napol, again in 14th place. Napol had a shocking race here last season in PSGL F3 in qualifying, in the race, sorry. But I'm going to go to get a drink, Milan, because my voice is, not really good at the moment. So bear with me for a few seconds, guys. I'm still ill, as you can tell. I think you can hear the lump in my throat already, but be right back very shortly.
No worries, mate. As we prepare ourselves for the race, and it's looking like it's going to be a dry race, so completely different than to the qualifying conditions. So, who knows who went for a dry setup in qualifying and who went for a rather wet adjusted setup. So, what is going to make the difference in the race as well. So Melvin, he's on pole position, snatched it away at the end, and in his fight with D'Amico, the two championship protagonists, the early championship protagonists, lining up on the front row. Currently, of course, still second and third at the championship behind Bolimachi, but they will eventually catch the former McLaren driver, currently 11 points behind, and the two of them separated by 1 point in favor of D'Amico, and 7 points behind him. 7 points behind Melvin is still Milan Diossi, who's in P5, so he's still got a good chance to go for a good result and fight it out with the likes of D'Amico and Melvin. And well, Kingsman and KDRDN, two very impressive qualifying performances for both drivers, who are at the moment down in P13 in the championship for the Williams, and KDRDN in P9, so they're looking for their first podium position of the season, or at least their best result. And Junkie Angle in 6th place. In the Mercedes will be interesting what he can do as well. Swifty down in P10. Swifty was unable to go for a flying lap. He just missed out by a few seconds trying to attempt to start his final flying lap, which puts him down in P10. I reckon he's got some good pace to move up the order as well with his teammate on pole position. So I'm looking forward to see what he can do in his charge back through the field in the second McLaren. And Justin as well, who also was unable to go for a flying lap, missing out on that final time. So those two drivers were going to be interesting to see what they can do as well, having to overtake in the early stages of this race, which will not be easy because this track, 3 DRS zones in succession, will be quite tricky to overtake with all these long DRS trains, especially in the first stints. But then after the pit stops, things might spread out a little bit more, and it might become a little bit more easy to overtake. But for the first stint, it's all about staying within the DRS range and not fight too much and not use up your tires too much. So that's what the drivers should be focusing on right now. The entire top 13 at the moment have opted for the mediums, and Napol and P14, once again, like we saw in the previous few races, going for the hards, going for an alternative strategy. He hasn't had a great season so far. The man 17th in the championship, just scored his first point last week at Monaco in 10th place. And besides that, he got 3 retirements in the first 3 races. So let's hope he's got a little bit more luck tonight and potentially can score a few more points for Williams. Of course, his teammate on the front in P3 looking to score a good amount of points as well. We prepare ourselves for round 5 of the season. So still a good few races remaining in the championship. It's going to all be about the fight between Melvin and D'Amico. Are these two going to be fighting out for a race win again, or is there someone else who might get themselves involved and might be fighting it out with them? Could we see a new race winner? Of course, D'Amico has won a race yet this season because it was Bolimachi who won the first 3 races, and then Melvin in last week at Monaco. So we got 4 consecutive McLaren victories. Can Melvin make it 5? Can D'Amico go for his first, or will we see someone else entirely from a different team? That is going to be the question tonight, but I'm sure it's going to be an exciting race. Austria always providing great action with plenty of overtaking opportunities, and those final few laps could get quite interesting as well. For what it looks like, it's going to be a dry race, so completely different than the conditions they just raced in. So it's going to take a few laps to get settled in, to get back into the rhythm and get used to these conditions. But I'm sure they will manage just fine. So at the moment we're still waiting for the ready up light, and then we can get round 5 of the season going. But I'm quite excited because, well, we're probably going to see a bit more action than we saw last week at Monaco, even though we saw quite a few overtakes and quite a few incidents as well around the track where overtaking is almost impossible. Of course, Austria, a much wider track and much more allowing for some good overtakes and some good action. So I'm looking forward to this race, and we'll see who is going to be out on top after 36 laps of racing in the Austrian mountains in the Spielberg region.
Also, don't forget as well, track limits can be vital. But we'll talk about that later because the light's about to go away very soon. And we're on the way for the Austrian Grand Prix. Melvin gets a lovely start. I think he's already cut across there. DeMarco trying to go around the outside, but there's no space as the kick Saba looks to go down the inside, puts into a cute angle. There comes the racing board. Milan goes around the outside. He occupies 4th place now. But look at DeMarco right at the back of the McLaren driver as we head up towards turn 2 and turn 3. As there's cars all over the place as we barrel roll heavy braking zone in towards turn 3. We have 4 abreast in the background. The Aston Martin up the inside. There's 3 of them there. He takes 27th place, but DeMarco is in the lead of the Grand Prix. He takes the lead immediately and he leaves Melvin in the dust in P2 as we see KDRDN versus Junkie Angle side by side with the Kick Sauber and the Mercedes as KDRDN has the outside line going in towards turn number 6 now, has the inside line and he takes away P6. So lovely moving around the outside there to converge to the inside line in towards the next corner. In the background too, there's 4 people going side by side. That looks like it is the Mercedes versus the Aston Martin. Noxie versus Justin. Justin gets ahead for the time being, puts himself up into P11, but DeMarco got the dream start. He was right in the slipstream and he played it cleverly too. Not going down the inside towards turn 1, waiting for the right moment and taking the lead already on lap 1. Lap 2 now, DRS will be enabled as we see all these drivers in a big DRS train as we head down in towards turn number 1 we go then. So DeMarco gains 1 place. Kingsman stays where he started in P3. Great start, by the way, from Kingsman in P3. Great qualifying as well. Let's see, can he maintain that position in P3 because he has been struggling. He has been at the rear end of the field in the races, finishing outside the top 10 most of the time, just Kingsman. I don't think he's scored points just yet this season as we see the Sauber and the Mercedes go into battle in towards turn 4. KDRDN defending from Junkie Angle. Junkie Angle wanting revenge after being overtaken the last lap. Napoli goes up into P12 ahead of Mighty Wombat. Now the Ferrari goes side by side with him, going up towards turn 6 and turn 7. Heck, oh look at this, with Aston Martin and McLaren getting too close for comfort, make contact going towards 6 as the Aston Martin just is ahead of the time being. Swifty unfortunately did not get another lap time in qualifying as he had to pay the consequences and unfortunately started down at the rear end of the field in P10, now demoted down to P11. But so far so good for the RP driver of DeMarco. Swifty gets a 3-second penalty already in this race. That's not good news already in this race because we know track limits is so brutal and so common. Oh, Milan almost lost it in towards turn number 1 there. The car just snapping at the exit of turn 1. Massive oversteer and luckily just saves the car, but he has Alimeka right behind him too in the Aston Martin going down towards turn 3. But so far it is DeMarco who leads this Grand Prix ahead of Melvin, ahead of Kingsman, Milan Diossi in P4, ahead of KDRDN in 5th place. One big massive DRS train Milan. Let's see how it unfolds later on the Grand Prix.
Yeah, perfectly executed start there from DeMarco, took the lead on the opening lap and has remained there so far. I don't think Melvin is looking to really fight it out with the Alpines, trying to settle into rhythm and follow each other through this first stint. But Kingsman is putting the pressure on the McLaren, to be fair to him, as he is quite handy around this track, 0.3 of a second behind the McLaren, who was following the Alpine by around 0.6 of a second. But he will get very close when you have this triple DRS zone, which is sort of a lifeline for him, because the Maiko looks like he's got quite a bit of pace in the Alpine, but now he will lose all the time that he has gained, because the McLaren behind him has got the DRS, with Kingsman close behind in P3. Milan, of course, we saw him making the move on the opening lap around the outside of KDRDN and took away 4th place. The Sauber still strong though in the top 5, and Junkie Angle has unfortunately eventually had to settle for 6th place after fighting it out, but he kicks out for a few moments with Levi in 7th place. Then it's Alameko in 8th with Justin and Noxie, and of course Swift in P11 already with a 3-second time penalty after just 2 laps of racing, already with a 3-second time penalty, which is not great news for him, because you still have 32 laps remaining after this one. Already putting himself on the back foot. We're on lap 4 of this race. The Maiko, his pace is quite strong, but due to the nature of this circuit, it's really, really difficult to build a gap to the cars behind you, having those DRS zones. So at the moment, he's just staying comfortably in the lead of this race, and just has to accept the fact that Melbourne will stay with him for the remainder of this first, unless he makes a mistake. So we see some Milan taking a different line down the start-finish straight. We go on to lap 5 of 36, and then this is the big DRS train we've talked about, as Alemeco is going to get past Levi. So Levi must have made a mistake then, coming out of turn 1, might have hit the outside curb, which has allowed the Aston Martin through to take 7th place, as he slides his way in towards turn 3, a little bit too late on the brakes, and he has not got the DRS up ahead, so he's going to be struggling. He's going to be vulnerable against the RB, who's going to go back up the inside to re-overtake. Up ahead, we still got Jungi Angle and the Kickshaber fighting it out, as we go side by side on the exit. The RB goes deep into the corner, which allows Alemeco to have the outside line now going in towards turn 6, and Levi, he's not going to fight that. He'd have the Aston Martin back through, but it is key now for Alemeco to get back within the DRS range of Jungi Angle, and he's just doing that. So good job for him, as the gap's around 0.7 of a second once again to the cars in front. Justin also having half a look at the inside of Levi there for a brief moment. So I thought the DRS train was going to get broken up there, but it hasn't, and still everyone is within DRS range. The entire top 14, the entire grid, within one big train on the almighty one, but might have just fallen out as we go on to lap 6.
Indeed, the Aston Martin in the background goes off the track. That's Alemeco desperately pushing to get himself within that DRS range of the guys ahead, so he doesn't lose that contact as we head down in towards the heavy breakers. There we go. We're going to see any moves going down here. We might see Justin make a move going in towards turn 3. Not to be so far, yes, but Levi looks like he's struggling, as we can see here. A little bit of a wobble on going there. Here comes Kingsman. I think he's right behind Melvin. Let's see if he goes for a move in towards turn 4. It doesn't look like it for the time being, so he just stays behind as he follows the McLaren driver. They know not to make any moves just yet. Just settle into the DRS train in the first stint, then attack later on in the second stint. I think it is potentially a one-stop strategy, but time management is absolutely essential here as well. I think I did a 2-stop, but that's because my time management is absolutely atrocious, so I can't make the tyres go the distance, unfortunately, as a pad driver, but I think it should be a one-stop. I think that's the quickest way to go so far. Nobody doing the ultra strategy. I think we saw in PSGL 2, C World Gamer, ILTC, go from harsh to mediums, but I couldn't quite tell how that worked out for him because obviously I had to commentate for F3. I couldn't watch the rest of the race. But Swifty is out of the race. He's retired in the pit lane. He's gone as Levi goes off the track again in towards turn 4. He's struggling once again, and he cost himself a place towards Alemeco the last lap. And you can see the Mercedes is right behind too, ready to pass as we head down in towards turn 3. But he stays behind. He needs to be very smart about this. I think Levi outbreaks himself in towards the third corner. Justin needs a decent exit, but he's power sliding out of turn 3, losing traction. Kingsman is right behind Melvin once again in towards turn 4, putting immense pressure on the McLaren driver in front of us, but not able to make a move yet. As we see the Racing Bull and Mercedes go side by side, the Racing Bull gets shown the curb on the outside, and Justin roars through. He goes up into P8 and he's right behind Raw Alemeco. But just like the last few laps when Alemeco was fighting with Levi, he lost himself the DRS, but managed to get himself back in there very quickly, so he didn't lose the contact on the DRS train, as able to follow along. But Justin, crucially, needs to get himself within that DRS train. But Junkie Angle's pitted already in this race, so I think that disembarks my point of doing the one-stop strategy. This surely is a two-stop strategy. There's no way the hardcore part times can go towards the end. We've got more people pitting then. Levi is in the pit lane too. So I think a two-stop strategy now is on the cards, maybe medium hard, and we'll see how the strategy works. As we see, Milan Diossi goes up into P3 ahead of Kingsman. Kingsman must have made a mistake in towards turn 1, but Kingsman's pouncing back. Down the inside he goes, in towards turn 3, lays the brakes, side by side. A little bit of a swap around for Kingsman there at the exit of turn 3, fighting, trying to maintain P3, but Milan Diossi has got him. And once again, Milan comes out of nowhere, and he puts himself on the podium. This is the top 3 from the Monaco Grand Prix. And you know what happened last time? They all got aggressive, they all got bunched up. Milan Diossi sent it down the inside in towards Raskas on the Marco on the last lap, but unfortunately couldn't quite pay it off. He got a 3-second penalty too. He actually got a 3-second penalty for the instant, and he was blamed there, but it didn't affect his position because he had a big gap towards P4. In the pit lane comes the Alpine, in the pit lane comes Milan, and the Williams too. I do hate this pit lane entry because it's so tight. It literally feeds in towards the penultimate corner, and you see a lot of people crash. I think we saw somebody crash last season too. Was it Pepine who crashed it towards the final few corners as he tried to, as somebody pitted in front of him and he hit the back of him? It's just Yeah, it's just a horrible pit lane entry, the worst pit lane entry ever. I don't think they're ever going to solve it because how are you going to do it?
It's really dangerous as you have such a difference of speeds. As unfortunately, yeah, Lou got himself a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. As we see Junkie Angle there with the undercut is side by side with Milan Diossi, and he's going to try and get ahead. He's completely drenched his battery. He's drained his battery, and Milan Diossi slots in just behind. Of course, Junkie Angle has a little bit more tire temperature. Is able to stay ahead, and Milan Diossi can just follow him through right now with the help of a DRS. Junkie Angle does not have the DRS though towards the Maiko, so these pit stops already stretching the field up a little bit as the Maiko finds himself in some clean air, and I wonder if Melvin is going to respond on this lap. The answer is no, he's going to stay out. So I do wonder what the strategy might be for Melvin. Is he going to try and attempt a one stop, or is he going to go for a later pit stop and have a tire advance to the end of the race? Would be quite interesting though, because normally you want to have want to go early with these DRS trains. If you go late, you can lose a bunch of positions, and it's going to be very difficult to re-overtake. But he's staying out, so is KDRDN, and so is everyone who didn't pit on the previous lap. So the entire top 6 continuing on their 9-lap old mediums, and the Maiko still in 7th place. He's in clean air, so he's free to push, and he is gaining time rapidly on the cars just ahead as Milan Diossi is going to go to the outside there of Junkie Angle, retake that position and put himself back in what probably will be a virtual 2nd place behind the Maiko once Melvin makes his pit stop. But the question is, does he need to make a pit stop less compared to these drivers? So at the moment he's still staying out on track. The McLaren driver, let's see, he's going to make a pit stop on this lap. Is he pulling to the right hand side? No, he's not. He's still going to stay out. So on lap 10 then of 36, I'm starting to wonder if Melvin is going to try and attempt a one-stop strategy, in contrast to his rivals Tamaiko and Milan, who both pitted one a lap ago. So this might end up being a very interesting race strategically, because now Tamaiko and Milan basically have to gain an entire pit stop advantage in their 2nd stint, and they are going to run into traffic if the top 6 is going to do the same thing. As Milan Diossi at the fast lap of the race, 1:06.106. He is gaining slowly on the Maiko as well. He's already built a gap of 1 second now towards Junkie Angle, just to get out, got the DRS there, but Kingsman go through in the Williams, gets ahead of the Mercedes and puts himself back in a virtual 3rd place, and he gets DRS as well there from Milan, so he can try and drag himself along with the RB just ahead. But looks like we're going to get a 2 different strategies forming in this race, with the one half of the field going for the 2-stop, and the other half might attempt the 1-stop, as Melvin, he is going to still stay out, and is going to stretch this stint as long as possible.
It is. I'm quite intrigued to see which strategy works in terms of the 1-stop versus 2. The people from P7 downwards go for full push, as the other people are going for a 1-stop strategy. Heck was just in the pit lane, double locks up, and luckily does not go over the speed limit there as well, like Esteban Ocon did, I think, in Qatar. I think he got safe release and had to pit again because I think he served his penalty incorrectly. But we've seen a few people speeding in the pit lane, and it's very easy to do so as well. You get a 10-second penalty, it's absolutely brutal, and essentially your race is over when you get a 10-second penalty, because there's no way you can build a 10-second gap over anybody unless you've got mighty pace. Kingsman and Junkie Angle once again swap places. They're trying to get in the DRS range of Milan Diosso in P7, and I've seen this before in Austria where somebody allows somebody through each lap to try and get themselves closer towards the guy ahead of them, to try and get them in DRS range and attack them later. It's like a magnet. You just pull yourself forwards every single time and try and get yourself closer and closer towards the guys ahead. It's a good strategy as well, and it sometimes works and sometimes doesn't, as long as you don't find the braking zone. As we see these guys in the Miko tires really struggling. Look at the state of the tires for Mighty Wombat's tires as well. He's absolutely struggling there in the has been overtaken by DeMarco, who's up into P5. So it's quite clear and evidence now that the guys on the Mini Cup tires are doing a 1-stop, because if they're going to do a 2-stop, then the strategy, unfortunately for them, is completely blown wide open, because they would be undercutting massively. So there's no point in them doing a 2-stop. It's a 1-stop strategy for them, and let's see if that works. Milan Diosso also makes light work on Mighty Wombats. He puts himself up into P6. He tries to hunt down DeMarco in P5. Of course, the DRS has been split up because Melvin was also included in that DRS train, but he's been taken out of it obviously because he's still hasn't pitted and still leading the Grand Prix in first place. Kingsman and Junkie Angle once again swapping places. They're up into P8. Is Kingsman doing a really solid job so far in the Williams? He scored his first points in the last couple of races. Other than that, he's outside the top 10. I wonder if Junkie Angle might get back ahead of him. Nope. They're swapping places in between turn 1 and turn 3. Which is the commonplace swap and trade DRS every single time. But Milan Diosso is 1.3 seconds behind, so he's pushing really hard, trying to get himself closer towards DeMarco, trying to get himself within the DRS range of DeMarco in P5. The German driver versus the Italian in 5th and 6th place. Championship contenders there as well. Both doing a solid job this season. DeMarco's still looking for his first win. So is Milan Diosso in P6. Milan Diosso got his first win got his first podium back at the Australian Grand Prix in the first round. Kingsman gets ahead of Mighty Wombat. Mighty Wombat falling, dropping like a stone, unfortunately for him, on those old mini compound tyres. But off the track goes Williams, and here comes Mercedes pushing the Haas up the hill towards turn 1. That's easy. Here comes Junkie Angle, and once again these two work in harmony because Kingsman has just let Junkie Angle go, and he's back up into P7. They lost a lot of time being stuck behind Mighty Wombat. But Mighty Wombat now has been dispatched down to P9 and under massive pressure from Levi. As he lets him go, there's no point fighting there. He goes up into P9 ahead behind the Racing Bull. As Mighty Wombat there accepts his fate on those old mini compound tyres. Now Milan Diosso is in DRS range of DeMarco in P5. They're right behind Napoli and Noxie too. So it looks like DeMarco, unfortunately for him, will encounter traffic. It's good news for Milan because it edged him towards him as well, within the clutches of him and in the DRS range. So Milan's caught up, but can DeMarco dispatch Napoli and Noxie very quickly as he's about to do so on the Williams, potentially going down in towards turn 1. Let's see, can he make a move? No, he's too far back. I think he'll wait for the right moment to clear him up towards turn 3. Napoli makes a mistake. Has he got a puncher? Did I just see a puncher on Napoli's car? No. Yeah? Is that a puncher?
Yes.
The tyres vibrate. He's got a puncher. Napoli has got a puncher. And what a shame because he just... Oh, no, don't. Oh, my goodness me. That was scary. That was scary indeed. I'm so glad he didn't wipe out Milan with it there because Milan would have been an innocent victim in that. DeMarco goes up into P3. Here comes Milan down the inside in towards turn 4. I thought for 1 second Napoli was about to straight line Milan and wipe him out, and it would have been a massive shame for Milan Diosso, an innocent victim in that. But unfortunately, Napoli's taking his tyres a bit too far, and they've cried for help, and unfortunately exploded like Sebastian Vettel in 2016.
Yeah, that just shows how dangerous the one-stop can be. As after 14 laps of racing, he finds himself beached here in turn 4, and really struggling to get himself back within this race. As both Noxie and KDR, the end is going to make their pit stop. I reckon their tires have blown up as well, as Noxie's going to get a 10-second time penalty there for speeding in the pit lane, which absolutely ruins your race, as he is going to fall behind massively. But he doesn't have to make another pit stop as he goes onto the hards. So does the Kick Sauber coming out, I should say, in clean air down in P11. And they will gain once again when everyone else makes their pit stop. Once again, Kingsman and Junkie Angle fighting it out, or I say they're working together, but then Kingsman goes a bit too deep there into turn 3, and Junkie Angle is back ahead. As he said, still Napoli there trying to get himself back going on the way. He's been disqualified for being parked in a dangerous location as he got beached there in turn 4, and the Williams driver, well, he is out of the race once again for the 4th time this season. He has not seen the end of this race, as our race leader Melvin is going to pull into the pit lane after 16 laps on these mediums. He has kept his mediums alive the longest out of absolutely everyone, and he's going to pull into the pit lane to go for his 1 hour pit stop. He's got a gap of around 5 seconds towards the Maiko. By making 1 pit stop less, as he puts on a brand new set of hards. And where will he come out? That is the question. I think he's going to come out behind the Ferrari as well, and ahead of KDR. So he's got a lot of catching up to do, and he might get himself a little bit stuck in traffic, which could hamper his comeback through the field. But the Maiko and Milan both need to make another pit stop in this race. The question is when. As Milan is well within DRS range right now. The key thing for them right now is to not fight each other and wait until the final stint to fight out for what should be the potential win or the potential lead of this race. We're on lap 17 of 36, just before the halfway point of this race. And D'Amico and Milan they've been on these tires for around 8 laps right now. And when will they make the pit stop? Are they going to go for medium hard white? I reckon they will. So they're going to stay out for a few more laps before they make their final pit stop. But this is time where Melvin needs to gain time on them, because he now has the tire advantage until the leaders make their second pit stop. But he's got some traffic to deal with. Up ahead is C8 Lou in the Ferrari, but they're on their own and shouldn't be too much of a fight with the help of DRS. But there's a big fight ahead as well between Alameco and Justin in P6 and 7, as there's a change of lead, and Milan Diossi leads the race on lap 18. We've got a new race leader, and it's the RB who fights his way past D'Amico, not fighting too much and just swapping around and working together at this stage of the race, as Melbourne has got a headman of the Ferrari, and up next will be the Aston Martin of Alameco, who is in DRS range though of Justin in the Mercedes in 6th place. And then there's that fight up ahead for at the moment the final spot on the podium, but of course Melvin will be there as well. At the moment it's Junkie Angle, Kingsman and Levi in 3rd, 4th and 5th. Fighting it out for this spot. We're at the halfway point of this race. Milan and D'Amico lead the way, and that is a big slide there from our race leader. Milan almost losing control over his RB coming to the penultimate corner, and that very much could have thrown away a potential chance of winning this race. And for sure D'Amico will come by as he goes on to the second DRS straight, so he is going to get Milan is going to get re-overtaken as D'Amico goes through. So we're on lap 19 of 36. D'Amico back into the lead ahead of Milan, but it's Melvin who is trying to make up as much time as possible before the two at the front make their second pit stop.
Yeah, Melvin knows he needs to absolutely gun it on those hardcore power tyres, because when DeMarco Milan pits, they'll have that tyre offset and they'll hunt him down towards the end of the Grand Prix on that 2-slot strategy. Which strategy is better, the 1 or 2-slot strategy? And Melvin there did a sensational job to have such good pace on those mini-cup power tyres, despite them degrading ever so quickly. We know how bad the mini-cup power tyres are when they degrade heavily, as well as KDLDN goes up into P9 ahead of C8 Lou for 9th place there, the Kick Sauber driver. And also as well with Napoli and Milan situation, almost reminds me of Mika Hakkinen and David Coulthard going down in towards turn 3, where we saw that massive crash between Hakkinen and Coulthard with the two McLaren drivers as well. And also Kimi Antonelli versus Max Verstappen this year in 2025, which could have defined the 2025 Drivers' Championship. But yeah, there's so many factors in this championship where either driver lost it all or gained it all. Milan Diossi overtakes DeMarco. This is very smart between these two, not fighting in the braking zones, not losing each other time. These two are just pulling away with each other, making sure they build a big gap behind as well and not lose too much time. If they find the braking zones, it means it costs them a lot of time. It means Melvin gets closer and closer and gains more time too. So these two being very smart so far, being very methodical, thinking long-term gain rather than fight it out every single corner. They know they don't have to fight it out, because there's still 16 laps left to go and there's still a pit stop imminent between those two, because yes, they can go towards the end theoretically, but their tyres will be shot towards the end, so they're definitely not going to go towards the end of these hardcore power tyres. There's definitely one more stop for these guys to make on the hardcore power tyres. Maybe mediums, maybe hards, depending if they chose the harder strategy. If you choose the harder strategy, here comes Sugar Ankle in the pit lane in a very, very awkward way. And it's so difficult, well, not difficult, but yeah, the car behind has got to have responsibility too, not to hit the back or smash the back of the guy ahead in the pit lane, because obviously they carry more speed while Junkie Angle is carrying less speed trying to get himself in the pit lane. So it is hardcore power tyres for Junkie Angle. Remember, he was the first one to pit in that DRS train too on the first stint, and he's also the first one to pit as well in the DRS train in the second stint of the hardcore power tyres. He rejoins on the P11. And that's a long way behind as well. So I wonder if anybody else will respond to the other cup. Melvin is on a charge so far in P7. Let's go on board with him to see how he's doing on those hardcore power tyres. He's right behind the Aston Martin on all the tyres. We should be taking candy from a baby. Danny inside he goes in towards turn 4. I thought for 1 second a double overtake was about to happen, but not confident enough to outbrake the Mercedes either, which was good enough, because I don't think he could have made it. But he goes up into P6 then ahead of the Aston Martin. Quite a few cars ahead of him, but they should be easy to pick off one by one, given the tyre difference, given the tyre offset as well. And I wonder if anybody else might dive off in towards the pit lane on this lap. Yes, we can see the racing bull in front of us. Oh, that might be a little bit in trouble there for Levi, if I just call that correctly. He goes, oh, he's in the grass, slow it down, slow it down, slow it down. And he has. Looking for him, he hasn't got a 10-second stability because he lost control going in towards the pit lane, and he lost control in towards turn 9, and it made him go out wide too. And go beyond the white lines, and I think in the regulations you can't do that. Here comes Melvin up into P3 ahead of Justin, and that was easy for 2. He's up into P3. How long are the top 2 going to leave it? They can't leave it too long. They need the laps. Try to hunt down Melvin, Milan and DeMarco in first and second place. So when are those 2 going to pit as well? And when they do, is it the medium compound tyres? Is it the hard compound tyres? And can they try and hunt down Melvin for the race? But Melvin go for his second win of the season as well, picking up where his teammate left off after his teammate dominated the first 3 races in Australia, Belgium and USA Kota. But Melvin's currently in P3 the championship, scored 2 podiums in the last 2 races. He won the Monaco Grand Prix with a sensational strategy to undercut DeMarco twice and defend for him like a lion, as Milan and DeMarco are in the pit lane then to conclude their second stop. And we'll see if the mediums are hard or attached. 13 laps left to go in this race. Let's see if these 2 could hunt him down. Is it the mediums? Is it the hard compound tyres we see there? It's the hard compound tyres. Now this should be an interesting phase. There is 13 laps left to go in this race. I think these 2 are going to swap places and trade DRS every single lap, because if they fight, they know they're losing time towards the Milan Melvin in first place. So I think it's wise that these 2 swap places with DRS and try and see if they can catch Melvin, Milan.
Yeah, that will be the best strategy for both of them. The gap now at the moment towards Melvin is 11/12 seconds. That is the gap between Melvin and Milan at this stage. That's the gap they need to bridge in these final 13 laps, and that's not going to be easy, because you need to gain almost 1 second every single lap, and well, that's going to be easier to done on a driver like Melvin, who well, his tires, of course, he's got 6 lap older tires, but that really is not much of a difference. But he will really start to feel it at the very end of this race. So that might be the stage where Milan and DeMarco can gain the most time. But at the moment they need to get ahead of these drivers ahead of him quickly as well. Justin gets a 10-second time penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Very unlucky indeed. And that is going to ruin his race as he makes his final pit stop, just like Alamico just ahead. And Justin is going to go to the mediums, so he's going to go for 13 laps on these mediums. It's a little bit dangerous, a little bit of a tricky, bit of a gamble for him. But let's see. Or actually, it's Alamico who's going to the mediums. It's Justin goes to the hard. So excuse me, got a bit confused there. But Alamico going to the mediums then. So well, we'll see if he's going to be able to make it to the end, or if he's going to end up like Napoli a couple of laps ago. So now that has released Milan and DeMarco, as Milan goes up the inside there of Noxie, getting the move done out of the Aston Martin, and the gap at the moment is under 10 seconds towards Melvin, so they've already gained quite a bit of time, it must be said, as DeMarco now gets ahead of Noxie as well. 9.5 is the gap between Melvin and Milan, and now they just need to chip away from that lead each and every single lap and hope they have a chance at the very end of this race. It could end up being a very interesting conclusion to this race if they manage to bring that gap down in these final 11 laps, as Milan setting their fastest lap of the race at 105.430, and the gap is 9 seconds with KDRN just in between. But I don't think he will be much of a fight against Milan and DeMarco, but these 2 looking quite rapid at this stage, and I can imagine that Melvin isn't pushing flat out at the moment, because he needs to have his tires alive in the final few laps to have a chance to fight against Milan and DeMarco. But they are coming at a rate of knots. But will it be enough for them to have a chance to fight against Melvin, or will Melvin's tire management help him out at the end of the race to keep him in front of Milan and DeMarco, as he goes a little bit wide though in towards turn 7. But the gap now 8.5 seconds. Is it 1 second a lap? I don't think it is quite yet. But they are gaining at a rate of knots. But they need to work together, like you said. They need to swap around and not fight too much. But I think they know that. They're in this championship fight, and they're hunting down our race leader Melvin as we go on to lap 26 of 36.
First, second, and third in the championship, DeMarco, Milan, Diossi, and Melvin. Yes, Polymachi is first in the championship, of course. I think that'll be taken away very soon. Look at DeMarco right behind Milan as well. I think he's going to swiftly breeze past him. Milan's not going to put up too much to defence, knowing there's no point and ruining his chances of trying to catch Melvin. He goes up into P3. KDRDN is next. He shouldn't be too much of a threat. Of course, the tie delta is 7 difference as well. I'm impressed so far with KDRDN. He's doing a really good job after a difficult season in the kickstart, only scoring a few points as well. Majority of finishes have been outside the top 10 for the kickstart driver. And Levi has overtaken Kingsman as well. He's up into P7. Kingsman has dropped backwards, but he is on a 2-shot strategy as well. So let's see how he ends up towards the end of the race. He hasn't done too bad. His best race, I think his best result came at the Belgian Grand Prix in 8th place. Only scored points once this season too. He's in P8 on new hardcore powered tyres. So I think his best efforts could be up towards Noxie and potentially KDRDN. Depends how much those tyres drop off so far. But look how much time they've gained in the last lap as well. 7 seconds is the gap between DeMarco and Melvin now. The gap was like 10 seconds a few laps ago. So the gain at a rate of colossal amount of time has been taken away. As you can see, Junkie Angle breezed past the Aston Martin. And look at Milan then, he'll breeze past DeMarco in P3. I like how these guys are working together as well. It shows how, it just shows the IQ of these guys, being playing it safe, being very smart as well, not fighting too hard, and working together to try and get the best possible result. These two will work together throughout the whole race until the very end of the race. That's when they'll fight, and that's when they'll fight to try and get first, second or third place. So working together now, but they betrayed each other towards the end of the race. Milan is right behind KDRDN. It's been a great drive, but unfortunately KDRDN will not defend this. Will be vulnerable once Milan and DeMarco opens up the DRS. It's been a solid drive though, and a very good qualifying session for KDRDN in P2 there. But of course, I think his chances of the podium is getting slimmer and slimmer with Milan and DeMarco right behind too. Now with the DRS wide open, they can't afford to hang around KDRDN for any much longer, as DeMarco is right behind the Racing Bull driver as we head down in towards turn 1. He should get the move up towards turn 3, if not turn 4. He can't afford to hang around any longer than that. Now he's got the DRS wide open. Here we go then, on board with the Racing Bull. Does he decide to stay behind? He does. So he's not going for the move just yet. Just set himself out of turn 3, get the DRS open for turn 4. Here he is then with the rear ring wide open on board with the Racing Bull. DRS enabled, pulls the left side, takes away P2. And what about DeMarco? DeMarco might get slightly compromised with KDRDN in the way. Should he get past him before turn 6, he can't do it. So he might get stuck behind him, you know, in these corners, in these mid-speed, like high-speed corners, where Dirty Air is effective and not doing his tyres any favours. Could Milan break the DRS from KDRDN and DeMarco? We're about to find out, because KDRDN is 9/10 away, so Milan, I think, has played it very smart. But DeMarco needs to get past KDRDN very quickly. You can see the understeer he counted it towards turn 9 and turn 10. He does not have the DRS in the back of Milan Diosso, so it's very important for the Alpine to get past him quickly. He needs to, because he's losing so much time towards Milan. Milan Diosso has been let off the leash and now chasing after Melvin with the next 7 laps left to go. Here comes DeMarco now, side by side, and up into P3. But the question is now, can he get himself back in DRS range? He's lost his connection towards Milan, and that could be crucial for this race for DeMarco in P3. He's trying to have a chance to win the Grand Prix. I think Milan was very smart in overtaking him towards turn 3. Gets him towards turn 4, then become an obstacle in the way for DeMarco in the high-speed, mid-speed corners. That's very clever there for Milan. If that was intentional or not, I'm not quite sure. But Justin goes up into P8 ahead of Levi in the Racing Bull, who seems now to be struggling on those hardcore power tyres. He's sliding all over the place. Is the Racing Bull driver in P9. Great qualifying for him, but he dropped down the order. Almost lost it in turn 6 there. His teammate, though, is gained at Melvin at a rate of knots. The gap was 5 seconds. That was 4.0. So Milan is on an absolute charge so far in this race. There is 6 laps left to go, and Melvin is under massive pressure. And the answers could be with us soon. Dedicating or concluding that the 2-stop strategy was the quicker way to go, because Milan is definitely gaining on Melvin, and Melvin's going to be vulnerable towards the Grand Prix on those old hardcore power tyres.
Yes, he is. He's really gaining right now, 3.7, and Demaiko, he will be frustrated. I saw him looking once in that moment when they were both behind the kick Sauber, and Milan decided not to go for it in towards turn 3. Demaiko was really pushing the back of the Arbor, but he decided to not go up the inside. And in the end, it has costed him because Milan was able to get past going in towards turn 4. And Demaiko sat behind for the remainder of the lap, and now he finds himself out of the DRS range and unable to get back within it, as the gap is 1.7 seconds. So his only hope can be that Melvin can somewhat hold up Milan in his fight when they will be fighting against each other, as the gap is now 3.5 seconds. So Melvin might be starting to push a little bit more, trying to maintain the gap towards Milan. The gap now 3.3 as we go on to lap 31. So 6 laps to go, and the gap is just under 3.5 seconds between our two race leaders. So can Melvin hold on to this lead? He can afford to lose half a second a lap, but not much more than that. So he needs to get the move on as well, but his tires will start to fade quicker than Bidan's and Demaiko's in P2 and 3. So he needs to keep hold of his tires as well in these final couple of laps. The gap is coming down, and the battle is spicing up for the race win once again. As it's getting very close indeed. As Kingsman in P8, he is very close now to the back of Justin, and he is the only driver in this train without a time penalty. And he could get ahead of the Mercedes, but KDR, he's in P4 right now. The gap is now 2 seconds towards Jungi Angle. He starts, of course, 5 laps older. Noxie in P6. I think KDR is still looking at a top 5 result at least. Jungi Angle might be able to get him in these final few laps, but then I don't think Noxie will be able to. And then Justin, he's still 2.5 seconds behind the Aston Martin, and he's got a time penalty as well. So as long as KDR keeps it within the track limits, he should be able to still get out of this race with a good top 5 result. The gap at the front now 2.6 seconds, so Milan is gaining half a second each lap. But the question is that going to be enough? He needs to get a move on, because at this rate he will be right at the back of Melvin and might not have the time to go for the move on the final lap. So it's getting really close between these two. Milan just needs to push as hard as he can, get within DRS, and then hold on and go for the move on the final lap of this race. But Melvin is doing an exceptional job despite his tires starting to fall off. You can see the graining on the front right there as well, as these hard tires are starting to fall away from him, but he is still able to put in competitive lap times. But Milan on this lap, I think he's almost now gained a full second towards Melvin as we come out of the final corner to go on to lap 33 of 36. The gap's now 2 seconds between our race leaders, 4 laps to go, and 2 seconds separate our two race leaders, Melvin and Milan. And this is about to get very interesting in these final 3 laps.
Milan can see his rival up the hill towards turn 2 and turn 3. Now Milan can sense a victory if he keeps it nice and clinical, nice and clean to overtake him once he gets in DRS range. He's done a superb job of losing DeMarco in P3. That was a very clever tactic. I'm not quite sure if that was intentional or not. Wait before turn 3, get the DRS opening towards turn 4, and DeMarco had to wait going in towards in the final few laps in the final few corners to overtake him. So that was very clever there from Milan in P2, and we'll never know if it was intentional or not, but if it was, then great tactics there for him to dispatch DeMarco. Now he can have the race sprint all to himself. He can have Melvin all to himself in P2, overtake him and not have the threat from behind as well. So he got himself clear of DeMarco, and he can set his sights on Melvin, and he's almost within DRS range. The gap is 1.2 seconds there between Milan and Melvin. The top 3 in the championship are the top 3 in the race, which is incredible if you disclose or exclude, shall I say, Polimachi in first place, because we know Polimachi is no longer in F3. He's moved to F2 or moved to F1, I think. And you got to give congratulations and credit there to Polimachi, because he went from F3 to F1 in the space of a few races. Last season he was burdened with bad luck, but luckily he found his form and some good internet as well. And he's finally got what he deserved with some good race wins under his belt. He was dominating this season, but ever since he left, Melvin was the one that picked up the pieces in a McLaren to continue their streak of wins. But it looks like Milan is about to break that, and Milan could be the newest race winner here in F3, because now he's in DRS range of Melvin. Crucially, I think Milan has to get past Melvin quickly if that makes sense. Because if he doesn't, if he stays behind, that means DeMarco might have a chance to get closer and get himself back in DRS range with Milan in dirty air of Melvin on older tyres. So I think Milan has to go for it, unless maybe Melvin can stick in the back of the DRS if he can somehow on those older hardcore power tyres. But let's find out. Here comes Milan going down towards turn 1. There is 3 DRS zones to decide where to overtake. Is it turn 3? Is it turn 4? Melvin's defenseless. He's vulnerable. He can't do anything. Milan there goes to the outside, all the way to the outside, just like Sebastian Vettel did on Hamilton in 2018. Milan takes the lead of the Grand Prix for the first time. Melvin did everything he can. Massive wheel spin there from the Racing Bull driver, but it's not done just yet, because here comes Melvin back on the Racing Bull, side by side, down into towards turn 4 we go. The battle for the lead is not over. Melvin gets back ahead. Milan does the switchback on the hardcore power tyres, better grip. We go side by side in towards turn 6. Can Milan go all the way around the outside in towards 6, but side by side? It's so close, 5 margins between the two, as Melvin stays in the lead of the Grand Prix. Can you believe it on those hardcore power tyres? He manages to defend from Milan, and guess what? DeMarco is closing in. Melvin is not giving up just yet. Milan would dearly love to get that move done on this lap so he can pull away, but no, it's going to be decided on the final lap of the Grand Prix. So here we go then, Melvin versus Milan. And Milan there. Oh, look at this. DeMarco is in rage. DeMarco's in third place. It's going to be a battle between the top 3. Who is going to win this Grand Prix? Milan now is side by side with Melvin up towards turn 3. He takes the lead. Is it done just yet? Because there's another dose of DRS. Milan goes a bit deep in the corner. Melvin, can he get a good exit? No, he slides with traction there. Can't get the exit he needs. Can't get the power down. And I think Melvin, can he overtake him going towards turn 4? It has to be a lunge, a dive bomb, but he can't produce it. What about DeMarco? Can DeMarco get him as we exit turn 4? Let's see if DeMarco can try and challenge him in towards turn 6. Nope, he's a bit too far back, but Melvin will struggle on those hardcore power tyres. But it is done, I think, for the lead of the Grand Prix. What a superb race at the Austrian Grand Prix. This race has produced so much good action, so much good battles, especially in the last lap of the Grand Prix. But Milan Diossi comes around the final corner, and for the first time this season, it is the Racing Bull driver who will see the checkered flag first and win the Austrian Grand Prix. What a sensational drive from Milan, and what a battle he had with Melvin to claim the win here in Austria. Melvin, second place here, and he has to concede defeat. And as you can tell, my voice is going. But Melvin finishes in P2 ahead of DeMarco in P3. DeMarco, unfortunately, can't get a win this season, but there's still plenty of chances to claim that win, and there's still plenty of races to go. And this looks like the order in the championship with Milan, DeMarco, and Melvin first, second, and third. And this is going to be an incredible scrap. And plus, it's the same podium from last week as well. Melvin, Milan, and DeMarco. The difference is Milan went from P3 to P1, Melvin from P1 to P2, and DeMarco from P2 to P3. But it is Milan Diossi's day with a superb battle with Melvin. Great drive, great battle between those two. Nice and clean on the absolute edge of drive from those two. Melvin did everything he could to defend, but unfortunately he couldn't do more on those hardcore power tyres and had to concede defeat, and Milan took over and DeMarco finishes off the podium. How is DeMarco feeling? He must be so frustrated knowing what he just saw with being stuck behind KDRDN. If he didn't get stuck behind him, if he overtook him quickly, could he be involved in that three-way battle for first place and have a chance to win it? Yes, he could, but unfortunately, I think KDRDN is what screwed him over. KDRDN did nothing wrong. He didn't defend abruptly. He was just he was an obstacle in the way at the wrong time in the wrong place for DeMarco. So nothing like, well, shout out to KDRDN in P5, a great result for the Kickstarter team, and Kingsman too. Great drive for both of them in 5th and 6th place. They both struggled this season, but great result wrapped up for both teams there with KDRDN and Kingsman. And Levi is one of P7. Great drive for him as well, just in as a reserve driver. But the day belongs to Milan with P1 and the fastest lap. What a race, Milan.
Yeah, incredible. Very, very clever drive from him, and a very well-deserved win. He really made the difference with that move on KDRDN when he was fighting it out. Well, not exactly fighting it out with DeMarco, but when they're both gaining on Melvin. He made that move, built the gap then towards DeMarco, so he could go after Melvin without having to defend against DeMarco. and then he lined it up very nicely going into the final lap. He got ahead, knew he had the traction advantage, and he knew that Melbourne couldn't overtake him going in towards turn 4. So a very, very clever drive from Milan and a very well-deserved victory. So congrats to him. And well, it seems like it's going to be that three-way fight then in the championship between these three. Who have been on the podium, all three of them, in the last 2 races, just in a different order. But congratulations to Milan, a great result, a great drive, and a great win here at Austria. So I'm looking forward to the rest of the season to see the battle between those three unfold. But what a race that was, certainly another enjoyable one, and well, incredible drive from him and the RB team. So well, looking forward to more fighting between those three. And Melbourne, of course, he's always quick in qualifying. He sometimes, at Monaco last week, we saw him make a great strategic decision. This time he went for a different strategy compared to Milan and the Michael. This time it didn't quite work out, but he still found himself in second place, still on the podium, and still having a great run this championship. So it's going to be a great championship, I reckon. It's going to be a great fight between these three, and well, cannot wait to see what the rest of the season has in store for us.
Yeah, me neither, mate. I know the attendance was 30 drivers, but still, it was an epic race, an epic battle, and hopefully we see this for the whole season too with Milan and more other people too, if he can get contention. But so far, the people to beat is Milan, Diossi, Melvin, and also DeMarco. Those three seem to be occupying first, second, and third place. But to you, Milan, my co-commentator, mate, thank you so much for commentating with me for this PSGL F3 race. It's been an absolute pleasure. This race has absolutely flown by as well, despite having 30 drivers, and I enjoy having you alongside me every single week, mate. Thank you very much.
Thank you as well. It's been a pleasure, and it always is. So I'm looking forward to the next races. But yeah, thank you. Another good one.
We move over to the Canadian Grand Prix next week in North America. So join us back in PSGL F3 at 8 o'clock. We'll see you all in North America at the Canadian Grand Prix. Let's see what happens there at Gil Verno Circuit. We'll see you all later now. Goodbye and take care.
Goodbye.